Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. San Diego's only Republican representative in Congress may be leaving California. That is according to new reporting from Punchbowl News. KPBS reporter Tammy Murga says Representative Darrell Issa is considering running for a House seat in Texas.
Last month, California voters approved a redistricting plan to make the state's congressional map more favorable for Democrats. Proposition 50 leaves Republican Representative Darrell Issa vulnerable to losing his 48th district seat. 11 Democrats are already vying to replace him. A day after the election, Issa said in a statement that he was not quitting on California. But Punchbowl News reports he is now eyeing Texas' 32nd district. A spokesperson for the congressman declined to say if Issa is considering moving, but in a text message said to stay tuned. About a dozen people in Lakeside declined to speak to KPBS, except for resident Nancy Tay. She supports Issa leaving.
I do not believe Darrell Issa would be reelected here. I think he has been a huge disappointment.
Tay says she believes the district needs a representative who better understands the needs of its residents.
It needs somebody that understands that the citizenry here used to just be cowboys and Indians, but that's not the case anymore. We have lots and lots of welcome immigrants here.
Issa has served in Congress for more than 2 decades in various districts. Voters elected him to represent the 40th district in 2020. Last month, Issa sought to challenge California's efforts to redraw its congressional districts. A federal judge in Texas dismissed the lawsuit. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Trump administration are doing damage control. Reports say Hegseth ordered the killing of 2 survivors of a September boat strike, possibly a war crime. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer says there are questions about the legality of the strikes to begin with.
It was this strike September 2nd, the first of now 21 airstrikes against what the White House calls South American drug traffickers. Not shown in the Pentagon-released video, a second strike targeting 2 survivors of the first. Experts question the legality of the killings.
Shipwreck survivors are deemed to be out of combat generally.
Edward O'Brien is a San Diego-based military attorney. He spent 27 years in the Navy as a judge advocate general, advising commanders on rules of engagement and teaching the law of armed conflict at the Naval War College. He says the government would need to prove survivors were still engaged in hostilities to justify further attacks.
You can't guess if they're going to continue to do something. You have to show them. You have to show, it has to be demonstrated. The key is demonstrated hostile act or intent. So under these circumstances, if they were in fact clinging to a raft or to wreckage, it's hard to see how they posed any threat.
The Washington Post reported and NPR confirmed Hegseth gave the order for the second strike. Allegedly, the order was to leave no survivors, an order O'Brien says would also be illegal.
As a general legal principle of law of war, law of armed conflict, those types of orders are unlawful. You can't issue sort of a kill everyone order. The issuing an order that there shall be no survivors is a direct violation of the law of armed conflict.
The Pentagon confirmed the second strike Monday. Hegseth distanced himself from the order, saying in a statement on X that it was the Navy admiral in charge of special operations who ordered the second strike. Today, sitting next to President Trump, Hegseth said he didn't see the second strike.
I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. A couple of hours later, I learned that that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat.
O'Brien says the strikes are on shaky legal ground to start with.
I know that the administration has said that these are narco-terrorists and they are threats to the United States. avoiding the politics, that could in fact be entirely true, but the legal framework doesn't allow them to simply designate any group as a terrorist and therefore subject to immediate execution.
Members of the House and Senate from both sides of the aisle have called for hearings into the strikes. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
And we will have more tomorrow from a local lawmaker about what Congress hopes to learn from its probe.
It is still kind of a cool time. Overnight lows dipping down into the upper 30s and the mid 40s across the interior areas. Not quite as cool for us right along the coast tonight, but during the day tomorrow it will be a pretty nippy one for some of those elevated spots up in the mountains there. A cool day for a hike. I do want to point out beach hazard statements in effect. We got unusually high water, even a little bit of very minor coastal flooding possible. Details ahead.
If you drive an electric vehicle and have no passengers, you may be ticketed if you use the HOV lanes. California's Clean Air Decal program, which allowed electric vehicles to use carpool lanes, ended in October. Highway Patrol had only been giving drivers warnings, but the grace period is over. Now violators are subject to a $500 fine.
What we're expecting to see is a little bit more congestion in the general purpose lanes and probably a little bit less congestion in the HOV lanes. So is it enough to make a huge impact? It'll probably make a slight impact, although traffic's already so bad in a lot of places in California, you know, it may have a little bit of a magnified effect.
About 500,000 vehicles were enrolled in the program when it ended in October. Carlsbad could be the next city in North County to ban e-bikes for kids 12 and under. The city council is considering the ban at its meeting this evening. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen says this comes after community members expressed support for a minimum age regulation.
Kids doing wheelies, darting in and out of traffic, and getting injured in crashes. These are the reason Carlsbad is considering adopting this ordinance. The city was the first in the county to pass laws making it easier to enforce e-bike safety.
That's a topic or an area that definitely needs to be looked at.
Carlsbad resident Kelly Miller supports the idea. The city is considering the measure now that a new state law allows cities in San Diego County to establish a minimum age for operating e-bikes.
You know, I think maybe along with that legislation, they should probably think about, or if it's possible, to incorporate some type of educational base, maybe some training that could go on to allow these kids to be safer on the street.
According to city data, since 2022, there have been 9 e-bike crashes involving riders 12 and under. Some needed to be taken to the hospital.
It's bound to happen on a lot of these kids.
Skylar Ireton saw firsthand how bad these crashes can be. His friend's child was involved in an e-bike crash.
Smashed into a car and the mirror broke his jaw and a bunch of teeth and just not paying attention, running through a red light in an intersection, just not a care in the world, like it's his playground.
In September, the city's Traffic Safety and Mobility Commission held a special meeting to get input on the ban. More than 550 people submitted comments, with most supporting the idea. If passed, violators could face a fine of up to $225. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
UC San Diego is trying to solve a math problem. The university says a growing number of students are starting their freshman year lacking high school math proficiency. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer digs into why finding the solution is complicated.
The need for remedial math education at UC San Diego has soared over the last 5 years.
The number of students who are not able to perform at the high school level increased, and the number of students who cannot perform even at the middle school level increased enormously.
Akos Ronatosh is co-chair of the school's Senate Administration Work Group on Admissions. This month, they published a report showing the scope of the problem. In 2020, university data show 1 in 200 incoming students needed remedial math. This year, that number is about 1 in 8.
One of those causes is COVID that had a detrimental effect on K through 12 education.
The report also cites the elimination of SAT and ACT requirements, high school grade inflation, and changes to the admissions process as some reasons for the increase. Ronatosh says the school isn't designed to help so many students catch up to university standards.
We are basically setting them up for failure. And that's very, very unfortunate, because many of these students would have been much better off going to, say, community college and take the transfer route.
The university says in 2024, more than half of its students were pursuing degrees in science, technology, engineering, and math. STEM majors require mathematics as part of earning a degree. William Simpson is UC San Diego's student body president. He says the pandemic impacted his own learning.
I think that impacted a lot of people's foundations of learning math and algebra. And then obviously you had increases in AI, so you're starting to be more dependent. When you see a question, you're more likely to ask AI, like, oh, can you help me answer it?
He's working towards a degree in economics, and that requires math. He didn't take a remedial math course, but he did retake pre-calculus his freshman year.
But I realized I need to relearn a lot of the basics and fundamentals of math, right? And so I took that pre-calculus course. It actually wasn't as easy as it sounds. It's actually much harder than the pre-calculus I took in high school.
Since then, Simpson says he's found success in multiple calculus courses. He wants other students to know it's possible.
So I really don't want our incoming students to feel like they didn't deserve to get in, right? Have that imposter syndrome.
UCSD is, in some ways, is the canary in the coal mine.
The nation's report card shows 8th and 12th grade math scores have slightly declined for the past decade. SDSU professor Daniel Reinholz studies math education. He says the problem isn't limited to UCSD. Reinholz says the lack of math proficiency can create long-term problems for students.
There's a lot of research showing when students start in remedial math, their chances of sort of getting through successfully attaining a STEM career are much, much, much lower.
Reinhold says this isn't a situation where students forgot how to do math overnight.
There's been constraints and strains with funding, the pandemic, social media, technology, all of these things have been building over a long period of time. And I think we're seeing in this particular place how all of that stuff is coming together to create a perfect storm.
Some ways to combat declines in math skills, he says, are by better supporting K-12 teachers and making the subject less intimidating at a younger age. But those aren't simple fixes.
We know that students learn better when they have really meaningful, engaging, exciting content, not just drill and practice day after day after day, right? Things that are built on problem solving, things that get students excited, things that connect to their everyday lives.
Reinholz and Rona Tosh agree fixing this problem is urgent because math is critically important to learning.
Teaching math is not just teaching numbers. It is not just teaching how to manipulate numbers. It is also teaching how to think.
As for how UCSD can prepare for future students, the Senate report has recommendations. They include changes to assessing math preparedness in admissions, revisiting math requirements for certain majors, and conducting the math placement exam in early summer. Rona Tosh hopes to see those recommendations implemented early next year. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
The U.S. may be heading toward another severe flu season. Vaccination rates are down, and a new strain of the virus is causing early surges in places like the U.K., Canada, and Japan. Mandy Gaither talks to an infectious disease expert about how this strain is different.
It's called subclade K, a mutated strain of influenza that's causing concern for the weeks ahead as flu season ramps up.
Those few mutations may have some influence in just how effective the flu vaccine is going to be for the current season.
Dr. Daniel Koritskis with Brigham and Women's Hospital says it's still important to get the flu shot this year because he says the latest strain is just one of 3 that typically circulate in a season, and being vaccinated will provide some protection.
And very likely would make any influenza that you might acquire much less severe than if you are unvaccinated.
But it appears many Americans are skipping their flu vaccines this year. Last winter's flu season was severe. The U.S. had its highest rates of flu hospitalizations in nearly 15 years. At least 280 children died of influenza. And with the combination of a new strain and upcoming holiday travel, experts fear this season could be just as bad.
We're just seeing the first signs of increasing influenza activity throughout the country.
Kariska says it's also important to keep up those personal care measures to protect against flu, like good hand washing. And he says if you do get the flu, there are treatments available.
There are several antiviral medications that are highly effective against influenza but need to be started early in the course of disease.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And the doctor says if you feel sick, it's important to test for flu so that it can be treated early and to make sure that the illness isn't another kind of respiratory infection.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, more details emerge about the deadly U.S. strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Low affordability and high interest rates are shaping the way many young Americans think about their finances and the housing market. Here's Ivan Rodriguez on why more young Americans are deciding to forego home ownership and instead invest in the stock market.
For past generations of Americans, owning a home has helped to build wealth. Today, younger Americans are putting their eggs into a different basket, the stock market.
For young investors, that they can continue to buy the dip. And we've seen that playing out with a 6-fold increase in the number of young people who are investing in stocks.
New data from the JP Chase Institute shows over 1/3 of 25-year-olds have investment accounts, all while the average age of first-time home buyers rose to an all-time high of 38 in 2024, according to the National Association of Realtors.
It's a really interesting shift in how Americans are building wealth these days.
George Eckert, research director of the JP Chase Institute, says the shift began in 2022 after the rise in home prices impacted housing affordability.
If you don't have what it takes to make a down payment and handle monthly mortgage expense with interest rate at 30-year fixed above 6% and, high home prices, then your options are relatively limited.
Part of the reason younger Americans may be more optimistic about the stock market could be because of a lack of long-lasting downturns in recent years.
If you haven't seen a significant downturn, it might feel like, this is a kind of one-way directional game.
In terms of what the future could hold for young Americans' financial decisions, Eckert says interest rates will be a significant factor as they may decline more than home prices. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Holiday toy drives for San Diego families in need are in full swing. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says Logan Heights CDC's Toys for Kids is short on donations with just days to go.
The mound of colorful toys is still growing this holiday season at Logan Heights Community Development Corporation.
It's something for everyone. There's games, there's books, there's little balls.
They've held their Toys for Kids drive for the last 5 years. Monty Jones is the organization's CEO. He says they're not getting as many donations this year.
And now we have 130 something. So we got a good ways to go. We have almost 700 people signed up for this year.
Despite similar challenges last year, Jones says they were still able to reach nearly 1,000 families. This year, they had to significantly scale back their goal to 200 families, and they're still falling short.
In a tough economy, it's communities like Logan Heights that bear the brunt of not being able to, have these things for their families during the holiday season.
Charitable giving goes up and down with how well the economy is doing. If people are doing better, they're going to give more.
Hisham Fouad is an associate professor in economics at San Diego State University. He says consumer confidence dropped in November. A new report from the Charities Aid Foundation America estimates about 10% fewer people will give to charity this year in the U.S. compared to last year. But those who plan to donate are expected to double their contributions.
When there's more uncertainty, more doubt about where you're going to be next year, 2 years, 5 years from now, that cuts down on giving. And we're at a point in time right now where uncertainty is really high.
Back at Logan Heights CDC, Jones says their greatest need for toys is for kids between 2 and 14 years old. They have a ways to go to meet their goal.
The toy drive is still open now through Thursday. People can come in with their gifts here to the Logan Heights CDC office, drop them off, and that'll go to the kids on Friday.
The toy distribution will take place at the annual Light Up Logan celebration just down the road at the soap factory. The free event has holiday activities. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Also in Logan Heights, Christmas came early this year for students at Rodriguez Elementary School. Not only did the Padres pay a special visit, they also came with gifts.
Everybody's getting a bite.
Second and third grade students wrote essays about their dream job in hopes of winning a bike from the Padres Foundation. And it turns out they were all winners. It was the kickoff to the Padres Giving Tour. Students like Alina Aguirre, who thought they wouldn't win, were in for the surprise of a lifetime.
Says she's gonna give me a bike, but I'll tell her to not get me one no more, so she doesn't have to spend all her money just for a bike.
You see these kids starting to cry and break down because they know they're not getting one, and then just the switch in joy when they all find out everyone's taking one home.
The Padres Foundation gave away 100 bikes. The Giving Tour continues through the month of December. Well, U.S. shoppers are expected to have spent $4 billion on Cyber Monday this year. While you wait for your Black Friday and Cyber Monday packages to arrive, you don't want thieves to get their hands on them. Jen Sullivan has tips to protect your items.
It's the season of giving, but for wannabe thieves, December is the season of opportunity as packages pile up outside people's doors. That's why experts say it's important to take extra security steps so Grinches don't grab your gifts.
We want to make sure people are aware when their packages are arriving to their doorsteps.
Richard Rocha with Amazon says the vast majority of their packages arrive without issue. But to help raise awareness about package safety, Amazon is partnering with the National Sheriff's Association this year. Last year, at least 58 million packages were stolen, and roughly 25% of Americans have been a victim. It's a crime that causes billions of dollars in financial losses a year, and these types of crimes tend to go up during the holidays. So what can you do to protect your packages? If you're not going to be home, FedEx and UPS allow you to deliver your packages to a different address. Out of town, the U.S. Postal Service will hold your mail for up to 30 days. Amazon allows users to use lockers for up to 3 days.
We have more than 25,000 locations across the U.S. where people can choose to have their packages sent, including a Whole Foods or one of our hub lockers that are available.
You can also leave instructions with your Amazon delivery driver, like request to have packages delivered behind your home. So what should you do if your packages are stolen? Rocha says call Amazon customer service. And security experts say most retailers will send you a new item, but they are getting stricter. You should also file a police report. And while security cameras can help catch the thieves in the act, law enforcement recommends not engaging with the thief. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Our weather headlines here will take us through the next few days, and we're not going to see anything too disruptive, but we do have some unusually high tides, so unusually high water may be seen in a few areas along the coastline, larger waves as well, so we're going to be dealing with some minor coastal concerns in some areas that might be a little more flood prone than others. Slightly cooler Wednesday in the interior. We will be breezy, and some of the mountain passes and in the mountains themselves and through the canyons and so forth, we may see a few gusts over 40 miles per hour through the middle and mid to late part of the week, Wednesday into Thursday. Tonight becoming cloudy, 56 degrees for your low. There are those beach hazard statements right along the coastline. Minor coastal flooding, a little bit of extra beach erosion with some larger waves as well. And again, some harbors and more sheltered areas that are often a little bit more flood prone could experience some high water during high tide. A little cooler in the interior this Wednesday, accumulating snow there into Denver and other areas in the far interior southwest. But for us, we're looking pretty good. Temperatures around 67 in San Diego, Chula Vista and Oceanside. Escondido doing the same. Ramona 67 as well. Chilly up in Mount Laguna, only 44 degrees there in the mountains. Borrego Springs 70. Pretty comfortable on the desert floor. An offshore breeze winds out for Thursday. Still dry locally. The cold air bottled up east to the Rockies. A little bit of snow up into Utah, but we're going to stay dry in most areas. There may be a stray sprinkle in a few areas late tonight into early Wednesday morning. Maybe a tiny bit of mist or drizzle in a few areas, but nothing substantial. And as we move forward in time, there's that offshore wind scouring that moisture away, and it will turn pretty breezy. So some of the gusts here, 30 to 40 miles per hour in many areas, but in some of the highest elevations to our north, we could see a stray gust on the high end, maybe a max wind gust potential of around 55 miles per hour. Coastal areas, you can see we warm up a little bit more into Thursday after a cooler day Wednesday. A good deal of sunshine for the weekend. We're looking good. Into the inland areas, you can see a little cooler Wednesday, upper 60s, back into the low 70s, pretty consistent through the weekend. In the mountains, it's pretty nippy there. Relatively cold 44 Wednesday, 40 for your high on Thursday, down below freezing Thursday night. Good deal of sunshine, winds out for Saturday. And in the deserts, here's where we're going to find some more comfortable weather. Typically hot, well, this time of the year we're cooling down nicely, and this is a cooler pattern. Temps only rising to the mid-60s in areas near Borrego Springs on Thursday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
We're officially 1 month away from the Holiday Bowl, and football fans will have a chance to win an extra perk for attending the game this year. The first 10,000 fans who enter the gates will get free tickets to SeaWorld. One-day admission tickets will be handed out on a first-come, first-served basis, limited to 1 ticket per person. Admission is valid through January 31st of 2026. The Holiday Bowl is set for 5 p.m. on January 2nd at Snapdragon Stadium, and you can buy tickets at holidaybowl.com. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Costco has filed a lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's tariffs. NPR's Morning Edition is discussing what the retailer is hoping to get out of it. And KPBS Midday Edition is talking to a doctor and patient about prostate cancer, including the signs to watch out for. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.